Josh Brown, I've reliably been informed that you like a bit of friction.
Oh! Listen to this.
The sound of a boss battle. Without any further ado, let's talk about some of the best boss battles that you totally missed.
First up, Spawn of Oggdo.
Oh.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I didn't miss him.
Now,
I wish I had.
this is one of my favorite bosses ever. I've put it at the top because I know a lot of people don't agree, but I could not do this list and miss off my boy Oggdo Bogdo. Now, this technically isn't Oggdo Bogdo I'm talking about today, hence the name Spawn of Oggdo.
Yes.
But in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, what quickly became a meme was one of the very early optional boss fights that you could have with this giant frog-like freak that slapped everyone as soon as they encountered them because you were supposed to come back a little bit later.
His hitboxes were so broken. That thing was so unfair.
You were supposed to come back later, but he was always a little bit unfair anyway. So he became a meme. Everyone was like, this is a really ridiculous early boss for players to get stuck on. A lot of people did, myself included, got my ass kicked by Oggdo Bogdo back in the day. And with those memories still fresh going into sequel Jedi Survivor, you're always wondering, will there be something similar in this game? Well, the developers absolutely knew that you would be thinking that because at a certain point you can fall through a pit. And guess what, Scott?
There's two of them.
There's another one right there. The Spawn of Oggdo. Oggdo's spawn has come for revenge, and it's an even more punishing fight. This was one boss that I dropped into and created a genuine rivalry with. And that's quite impressive considering this guy doesn't speak. He's got no personality.
And you don't speak frog.
And I don't speak frog.
No.
Or big tongue. I don't catching flies and all of that frog-like behavior. I must have thrown myself at this brick wall tens of times, if not hundreds of times. It took me 3 hours straight to
I can see
kill him.
you refusing to move on.
I refused to move on.
Yep.
You're supposed to, again, like Oggdo, come back later. And I knew that. But I didn't want to.
No one's doing that.
He was my sworn enemy in that moment in time. I needed to drop in and learn every single attack pattern that he had, which took a long time because he could pretty much one-shot me with his tongue, which was an absolute nightmare. But I actually came to really love the fight in itself because it was the first time in that game I had to really take an enemy seriously and learn everything about him, learn the hitboxes, some of which were absolute trash.
Yep.
Learn every single combo that he had, learn when to hit and when not to hit, and ultimately pretty much do the entire fight getting hit a maximum of 3 times.
Yeah.
I finally did it after 3 hours.
Oh, what?
And then guess what?
I know the other one killed you.
Later on in the game, you get to fight them both. You get to fight Spawn of Oggdo, you get to fight Oggdo Bogdo at the same time in a small arena. And that's a piss take, to be fair. That's an absolute nightmare fight. I still did it, still loved it. This is such a good joke boss because there's still a challenge there. The developers know exactly what you're thinking, and the laugh that I laughed first seeing it quickly dissipated into true despair when I realized he was going to be even tougher than his old man.
The Mirror Knight from Dark Souls 2. Now, this has one of the coolest ideas in gaming history, and if you play Dark Souls 2 today, you can't get the full experience that you did back in 2014, and even then, quite a lot of people bounced off Dark Souls 2. It's the controversial entry in the trilogy. If you go back to the Souls games overall, the Mirror Knight, the specific thing about the Mirror Knight is that he can summon other players into the boss fight itself. Now, I think that's one of the coolest ideas in arguably gaming history, but especially in the Souls genre or any action-based game. And you can kind of guess where I'm going with this entry, which is just that. If you play Dark Souls 2 today, there aren't anywhere near as many people playing as active. There's also 2 specific items that you need to grab to be able to spawn into that exact fight. And you have to make sure that your timing is lining up with someone else doing the fight anyway. So it's very hard for the quintessential idea behind this boss fight to come through in 2026, 2027, going forward, etc. And that's why I want to include it, though. I just think the general idea behind this is really cool. And I remember in the preview stage for Dark Souls 2, before we got hands-on with it and all the division started, the idea of a boss that could summon other players was something that was hyped up quite a lot going into Dark Souls 2. And like I mentioned, I still think that's a really great idea, especially for a Souls game.
They've done a kind of variation on it a couple of times, but like you said, the novelty of it in Dark Souls 2 and the seriousness in which a lot of people took that role as well.
Well, I mean, did you when you fought the Mirror Knight, did you have a human summoned against you?
Well, yeah, but
I did as well. Yeah,
I got to it a few years later.
Right.
I got to it like long after the discourse had died down, and there were still people there willing to be summoned into the game. That was a few years ago, so it might not be the case now. But I always loved that, and I know you indulged in a bit of that in Elden Ring as well, where you get some people who just go, "This is my role, to be a helper or to be a hindrance,
or to be a massive penis,
to be a massive bad word for YouTube."
Because I thankfully killed my invader in the middle of that fight, and I've never had so much fury against another player, someone else, a human being on this earth that I didn't know. But I was like, "What do you think you're doing? Why are you here?" But I managed to kill that person and then kill the boss. So screw the Mirror Knight, to be honest, into the muck.
And as we all know, like the worst combo any enemy can possibly have is a bad connection. Next up, Takezo the Unrivaled, Ghost of Yōtei. Scott.
Whoa!
I loved Ghost of Yōtei.
You do, don't you?
The combat system of Ghost of Yōtei, I absolutely adored. I love steel on steel. I love having to learn an enemy's attack pattern. And like Ghost of Tsushima, one of the best parts of this sequel was the one-on-one dueling system. You could go out into the open world and find a bunch of worthy samurai and other beasts to take on 1v1. Samurai sword versus samurai sword. And there is a tale in that game, essentially a side quest, where you have to hunt down a bunch of Ronin, I think. I think it's 5 that you need to take out. And once you kill all of those, which in and of themselves are really good fights, you get to unlock the final challenger, which is Takezo the Unrivaled, who is in the best possible boss arena at the top of Mount Yōtei, which is absolutely gorgeous in and of itself. So you make the climb all the way up to that stage and you take on what is essentially the end game boss of this game, but you can fight him whenever you want, really.
Josh
and
Brown did it in the first 5 minutes.
I did fight him whenever I wanted. I, like Oggdo, did not want to stop until this guy was beaten, and admittedly, I did have to go away. I did have to get some reps in, had to get some upgrades, but I came back before I finished the story, and what a fight it was. I think it's because he deploys every single fighting style in the game, so he's constantly cycling through different weapons in different phases. He's got so much health, does so much damage, and it is a true test of every single mechanic in the game. You have to know every fighting style, you have to know every counter, and it was just, again, it had the spectacle and the cinema that you would expect from a Sony first-party game, but it also had that just intense challenge that you would expect from the tightest, most difficult spectacle fighters in the genre, you know? It was an absolute joy to finally best him and me, myself, become the Unrivaled after taking out the main end boss. It was amazing. I wouldn't recommend doing it early, just because it does kind of, you know, he's the hardest boss in the game, and when you go to the final boss, you kind of think, well, I'm literally the Unrivaled now, so what are you going to do?
It's in the name, mate.
But it's absolutely class. It's a great sequel with a bunch of great fights, and for me, this one probably just about comes out on top.
The thing is, when you talk about the Tsushima games, overall, obviously, Tsushima goes to Yōtei. We talk about the story side of things. We talk about Jin Sakai. We talk about Atsu. We don't celebrate the combat model quite near as much as we should, and as much as I prefer Tsushima overall, I do like quick throwing a sword across the room to smash a dude in the face. I want more quick throw swords in my games, but I think it's worth just highlighting that you can drill down onto the one-on-one fights and really explore the nuances of that combat system. It does have a whole bunch of back and forth, almost rock, paper, scissors style mechanics. Everything that this boss can throw at you, you are equipped to deal with to a degree, providing you can learn all the animations that are coming your way. And that's getting right into the nitty-gritty of all of those animations and going back and forward. That's what makes it so special.
It is, and truth be told, I did not do that respectfully in the fight. I threw a smoke bomb on the ground and shot him in the face a good few times. I was taking any little win I could.
Simon, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. One of the hardest bosses ever put to code that you would love because you love friction, and you didn't find Simon.
I am a fan of Clair Obscur. I know what you are talking about.
I'll call the sniper off, and then you can have a bit of an entry, like, no, to put the rifle away.
No, tell me more.
Well, so the whole thing with Clair Obscur, I'm not going to spoil the big twist in that game. Obviously, it'll be past a year that it's been out at this point, but I do think the Clair Obscur's story should be best experienced without spoilers. However, there is a boss that you can optionally choose to find. I need to keep this very vague in terms of how you find them, but they're inside a place called Renoir's Drafts, and you'll eventually find this individual called Simon, who comes at you at such an insane pace. It's a 2-stage fight, and you mentioned before that idea of bosses that you need to be on the peak of your abilities. You need to have mastered every single frame window, every little bit of frame data, animations, etc. Simon is an insane boss fight, and in the second phase in particular, he starts doubling up all of his animations. So he's almost like going for like a sword swing, and it's followed by a ghost version of the same swing. So everything hits twice or thrice or whatever it is, and it just knocks your muscle memory way off, because no other boss fight has this many attacks in such a quick succession. And even then, you're trying to hang in the pocket to even understand what the hell's coming at you in the first place, because Simon's design, especially in the second phase, is so much more aggressive and screen filling, and the camera angle is really cinematic. It's behind you. It's quite low down behind your characters, but the whole thing is super cinematic and super rewarding if you can manage to hang with Simon for long enough. And I think it's a really good sort of icing on the cake to the overall combat experience that is Clair Obscur, being this more action-based JRPG. Like, it has little quick-time events, and it has a few more, real-time mechanics in terms of the turn-based stuff. But yeah, man, Clair Obscur, one of my absolute favorite games of all time. I'm not going to never mention the tattoo that I got because of it. And I think the likes of Simon or the Lampmaster as well. Like, there are a bunch of optional bosses in Clair Obscur. I know you fought that weird sprig thing.
Oh yeah,
whatever that was.
Yeah,
it wasn't called
yeah.
sprig, but it was
Wasn't.
it looked like an art student sort of copper man. You could choose to fight that right at the beginning if you'd like to as well. But if you've spent your time leveling up and exploring, and you've seen the story, you've done the twist, and you want to get a little bit more out of that, like how far they're going to take this twist, you should seek out Simon inside Renoir's Drafts and see that thing through. An unbelievable boss fight that is ludicrously hard.
Absolutely. Scott, I need to echo everything that you just said there.
Please
because
do.
while I didn't fight that boss in particular, which is why I was worried that the sniper was trained on me earlier in this entry, I did do a lot of the optional bosses before that end game, and like you said, that is a game full of excellent optional bosses that you can take on at any stage, whether you want to learn those attack patterns and do the active dodging, or whether you want to buff your party and just absolutely smash them with a combination of moves and managing all of the different meters that way. It's a good game, some would say.
It's a perfect game, mate. I mean, why would you say any otherwise? Should I get him back on the blower? Hey? Take the shot!
You won't kill me for saying
Take
it's not perfect.
the shot!
Next up, the Sphinx, Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, Scott.
I can't think what this one is.
Well, a lot of people did not fight the Sphinx in Dragon's Dogma 2 because you might be sensing a trend on my list, but it took a lot of different steps to even get the chance to fight the Sphinx in Dragon's Dogma 2. You might have discovered the Sphinx in Dragon's Dogma 2. I've said those words a lot.
You've got to give him his full name.
But the Sphinx is essentially this, it's a Sphinx, Scott.
Is that the one in Dragon's Dogma 2?
It's the one in Dragon's Dogma 2, mate.
I knew it.
If you didn't know, you go up to it, asks you a bunch of riddles. She's there. She says, "Oi, solve this puzzle." And the twist is, if you get even one of them wrong, and you encounter her multiple times across a 100-hour experience, if you get it wrong once, she'll just fly away and you won't get another chance at it.
What, that save?
That save.
No way.
You can reload a save, but saving in Dragon's Dogma 2 it's a whole video in and of itself. It's difficult. You can't just quick save before you answer a question and knock back to a checkpoint.
Right, okay.
So, I am not ashamed to admit that I did not solve all of these puzzles because I'm a big dumb brain by myself. I did need a guide because I really wanted to see what was at the end of this quest line. And what is at the end of the quest line is the chance to take on the Sphinx finally and get a bunch of great loot. And the fight itself is excellent. Fighting any big monster in Dragon's Dogma 2 is just a spectacle to behold. It has so many different mechanics that you can utilize. You can grab onto them, you can climb on their heads, plant a bomb in their eye, jump off, have it explode. It's amazing fighting any big enemy, but this one in particular, after so long, and again, you don't want to get it wrong because you want to see what's at the end of this quest line that you've put so many hours into. It's the visual design of the Sphinx. You will have definitely at least seen that. It is great. It is so memorable, as is the boss arena. And it's just one of those where even outside of the mechanical satisfaction of getting the better of it, it just feels amazing to get to that point. It feels like a genuine secret that only you have stumbled on.
Yeah.
And you look at the trophy data, or at least at the time looked at the trophy data, and realized that a lot of people probably didn't even have any idea this thing was in the game, let alone that you could have a boss fight with it. So I love Dragon's Dogma 2, another game that is just teeming with these hidden bosses. There is also a headless horseman that only comes out at night that you can fight as well.
Okay.
The whole list could be made up of Dragon's Dogma 2 enemies, but I'm going to throw this in just because of how convoluted and hidden it is in the actual game.
We have another improv list that might be out at this point or is coming out soon about the most overlooked games of 2026. Dragon's Dogma 2 may be one of the most overlooked games of the decade so far. So throw that thing in, it's incredible. Also has one of the best title card drops, late title cards in gaming as well. Just throwing that in. Give that game its flowers. Taskmaster from Marvel Spider-Man, 2018's Marvel Spider-Man. This is very much Insomniac doing their version of the Man-Bat encounter from Arkham Knight. And you fight Taskmaster twice. He does just jump you as you're exploring the city. You have a whole bunch of different Taskmaster challenges that you can do around New York City. You only have to do 5 of them to trigger the initial Taskmaster fight. And then he escapes and he comes back later on. You have to do all 16 Taskmaster challenges to fight him the second time. But the thing that I love, and I love this about the Mr. Freeze fight in Arkham City, and then I like the idea of it, pretty much in any game, you can go all the way back to Dark Link in Ocarina of Time or whatever, but I like the idea of going up against a mirror version of yourself, or at least a mirror version of your moveset, and think, how the hell would I outmaneuver myself? Because Taskmaster can do all of your special moves. He learns anything that you do against him that's free. You can't use the same move twice. Very much the Mr. Freeze kind of technique. And you do have to barrage him with a bunch of like environmental attacks. You can do the specials. You can do your different gadgets. You can deploy like different moves that you have that might be able to catch him off guard. Things that he fundamentally can't replicate because he doesn't have the same tech as Peter Parker. And I just felt like I just came at him with a whole barrage of buttons, and eventually I was getting through, and it triggered the cutscene, and I managed to beat him. But looking at the trophy data, right now, at time of recording, only 22% of players have beaten Taskmaster. So as much as a lot of people know that he's in Spider-Man 2018, only a fifth of all the people who played the game have actually managed to seek him down and then beat him on the second fight.
No, man, I absolutely love the concept of a villain taking your moves and deploying them against you. Spider-Man 2, without spoiling, does a similar thing, not with Taskmaster, with someone else, where you suddenly go, oh man, all of the moves that I have been just pummeling goons into the dirt with are now being utilized on me. How am I supposed to counter those? And obviously Taskmaster, the Taskmaster tongue twister, by
the master of tasks.
For this entry has been absolutely terrible to get off the tongue every single time. But, you know, that villain is genuinely just set up to do that, to pose that specific challenge. And I think it's amazing that it comes after those challenges in and of themselves, which provides a nice story reason for how they know all of these moves and all the data that they've acquired from you to ultimately turn back against you and try to beat you with it.
Yeah, man.
Next up, Bayle the Dread, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree.
Oh,
Scott,
yes.
I, for some reason, always think that Shadow of the Erdtree came out about a decade ago.
I
at
forget
this point.
that it happened because I never did the whole thing. You have to get to a certain point in the story to even trigger the DLC, and I was never going to do that, so I haven't played a whiff. I haven't played a single stitch of Shadow of the Erdtree.
Well, that hurts me because it's one of the best games, not even just expansions, games of the entire decade.
Well, they should
so
make it
far.
accessible from the beginning of the game, shouldn't they?
Don't start. This is not what this entry is about. This entry is about Bayle the Dread, which is one of the best boss fights in the entire Souls canon, if you ask me.
Bailed on the game. Carry on.
I'm going to try to set the scene for you then.
Please do.
In Shadow of the Erdtree, early on, you'll probably see this volcanic thing in the distance. It's all grey rock and menacing skies and like a red, just ominous overtone to it. And you think all the way through the expansion, I'm looking forward to going there, but I'm scared what it's hiding. You know, it's just got a very hostile look to it. Anyway, you can eventually make the torturous climb up this mountain where you'll find a lot of lesser dragons which can already pummel you into the ground. And when you're at the top, you literally meet the king of all dragons. It's the biggest dragon in the entire game. It's the best dragon fight, I think, that FromSoft has ever done, and they've done a lot of them throughout all of their games. And part of that is just the spectacle of it. If you bring a certain NPC with you whose entire side quest is tied to taking down this beast. It just becomes even more cinematic. The voice actor is going so much harder than they probably should, but they are selling the epicness, for lack of a better term, of the entire encounter. And this dragon is firing energy at you. It's powering up. It feels like anime-esque
That's how you get me back in. Yeah.
You're pretty much fighting it in the mouth of a volcano. Like I said, it's absolutely huge. You've got this spectacle. You've got the music that swells up. It is not the most demanding fight in that game. It's probably not even the most technically accomplished fight in that game in terms of providing you a challenge. But from the moment you see that mountain to the treacherous walk up, to the moment you step in the arena and see Bayle the Dread for the first time, it's just From Software absolutely firing on all cylinders at the peak of their powers, and it kind of sums up why this expansion is so special to me, because the quality that is there. If this boss was the only good boss in that game, it would still be a masterpiece. Right. The fact that there'll be people in the comments right now saying, well, it's not even the best boss in Shadow of the Erdtree. That's just a testament to how good that DLC is, man.
Yeah. I remember being very much jealous week to week when you would describe Shadow of the Erdtree. On the old What Culture Gaming podcast, please subscribe. Because also when we talk about Elden Ring, it's almost understated when we talk about boss design or the different ways that you can play the game or whatever, the sound design in itself and how much that can elevate those boss fights. Like, one of my favorite games is Final Fantasy 16. The score that goes alongside that game, it makes all those fights just, the next level. But I think that's totally the case in Elden Ring as well, not to ever overlook the soundscape of the mighty Elden Ring. The Psychiatrist in Katana Zero. A boss fight so ludicrously, stupidly hard that little old me gave up on it. And I know that it has a reputation amongst the Katana Zero massif, and I know that Katana Zero is long overdue a sequel. But Katana Zero is a super slick, almost like a side-scrolling 2D take on like a Hotline Miami style genre where you're getting through all these different goons, you're slicing them all up, really cool synthwave back soundtrack. You're dying in like one hit if you don't get things right. There's a nice slow motion toggle. And the story of the game is based around you being this assassin for hire that's also checking in on these psychiatrist sessions with some dialogue options along the way. You can choose to just be an absolute dick along the way, and if you pee off your psychiatrist enough, by the end of the game, you literally just tell him to F off by the very end of the game, which triggers this insane fight, which is the optional ultimate boss fight in the game, is your psychiatrist, which is a really funny thing to be able to say out loud. But, like I said, that triggers this ridiculous fight where the psychiatrist themselves morphs into this giant, like Resident Evil style monster that you need to figure out how to take down with incredibly messy hitboxes. You don't really know what the hell you're supposed to be dodging, where you're supposed to be standing to be safe on the screen. It's very, very painful, very, very annoying. I still adore Katana Zero, but I never beat this thing. Maybe someone down in the comments did. And for me, this is just something that immediately came to mind when we were talking about boss fights that you missed, because you have to choose every single negative option all the way through the game anyway to even be able to do the fight.
How did I miss this? 2019? Was I still playing Red Dead Redemption 2 or something?
Sounds like you. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's synthwave music, mate. Get yourself in. Get the... That's more like that's funk in it. So
it's a Scott Tilford game.
Yeah.
Next up, speaking of things that aren't Scott Tilford games, the first Sinner, Hollow Knight Silksong.
Oh, get it out of here.
He's making hand gestures, he's making noises, because I know for certain you wouldn't have reached this boss in Hollow Knight Silksong.
I got to what was the bit with all the hanging dudes? All the hanging fellas?
I think it's called The Last Judge, that boss fight.
Yeah, I got to that guy and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm a dad getting up at 4 a.m. I don't need it in my life.
Well, I'm not a dad, nor am I getting up at 4 a.m. And in fact, I was staying up till 4 a.m. playing this game. At risk of repeating myself, Hollow Knight Silksong has so many optional bosses, so many of them great. The first Sinner, though, sticks out for me because of just how unexpected it was. You essentially descend to the bottom of the map in an already optional area, and it just keeps going and it keeps going, and ultimately you end up finding this locked door, and you know it's Hollow Knight. There's nothing good going to be behind the locked door.
You try and save on the bench, and the bench eats you. Carry on.
The bench eats you.
Good.
You're gonna get a key to unlock the door at some point, and you know it's not gonna be flowers and roses. It's gonna be a tough boss fight.
It is.
And yet, going into this arena, which is just so ethereal, and having this enemy, which initially looks quite unintimidating, as often the best bosses are. You know, you aren't physically intimidated by its size, but it's so powerful, it's so quick that it takes you by surprise. And this is exactly what this does. It's a 2-stage fight, and it's one of those 2-stage fights, Scott, where you pray there's not more than one. You know, I got to the end of the first stage, and I was just thinking, please let it end.
Let me be free.
In the best possible way, because I didn't think I had it in me to do the fight again. I just didn't think. I gave it everything, you know what I mean? And it just regenerated and came back for more. And it took me a long time to get through phase 2, but it was absolutely worth it. I thought it was such a satisfying fight. Again, the way the combos come at you, the way the character moves, it is telegraphed, but it's hard to get the hang of. And it's one of those where initially I was going, it's broken, it doesn't work. The character gets to regenerate their health.
Literally me.
I was like, why did they put that in there? Yeah. No one could do this. Literally nobody on this planet.
Why would they do this to me?
Boss. Why would they do it to me specifically? But then, admittedly, after a couple of hours of attempts, you kind of settle down and you go, no, I can beat this. You know, I can meet it on its own terms. It isn't as unfair as I initially thought. Everything is in my own control. Should I just slow down and you know, meet the boss and learn the attack patterns and not
Know
just try to
thyself.
brute force. Know thyself and get through to the second phase and ultimately beat it. Visually spectacular, a great test of your might. And I mean, I always love a boss that's hidden in the depths anyway, but to lock it behind this door and for it to be such a horrible surprise is fantastic. Great lore implications as well, without spoilers for the rest of Hollow Knight Silksong, but would absolutely recommend it if you haven't played Hollow Knight and you want to know what it's all about. Try going toe-to-toe with this boss and see how you get on.
That game hurt me.
Hurt
me deep.
I loved it.
Essej in
What?
control. Essej, mate. Jesse backwards, innit? In control.
What?
Have you not fought the mirror version of Jesse in control?
Oh, the mirror version of Jesse in control. I can't remember this.
Just a little bit of a recap. For the almighty Remedy, one of the finest game developers in the business right now, their 2019 masterpiece. Where were you in 2019?
I was playing Control.
You weren't fighting Essej back in the day.
I remember the big lamp
Yes,
in that game.
there is a big lamp, the Lamp Master, the original Lamp Master. So in Control, you're dealing with a whole bunch of household items that the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control, have brought back to their secret headquarters in the middle of, I think, New York City. And so, you know, throughout the game, there's a tie to Alan Wake, there's like a coffee thermos, and there's some other like bigger, larger items, like a demon fridge that you have to take on at one point. A lot of these are main campaign, main thread type things. However, there is one that is based around a possessed mirror or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And you have to go out and find it yourself. You don't need to do it at a certain point in the story, but you need to deviate away from the main path. Find this mirror. It's it's in this specific area of the map. It's like the southwest of the map. It's all locked down. You've got to pull a bunch of switches to open it up. The whole time Jesse's saying, like, this seems like there's clearly something going on with this mirror. And as soon as you touch it, you warp through it and you end up fighting yourself. Now, you fight Jesse. You already plays this character called Jesse Faden, who has a connection to all of these other supernatural elements, but you fight a character called Essej, literally just Jesse backwards, even in the UI. There are various other signage, pieces of signage and various other labels. When you're in the mirror world, everything is backwards. But as I mentioned before, I like the idea of going up against a mirror version of yourself. And Essej is hard as balls. Just comes at you with all the moves that you have, all the telekinetic throws. She has a pistol. She has all these different weapons that she can throw at you. You take a ton of damage. I mean, it depends when you choose to fight her in the story. But still, she puts up a fight regardless. And the idea of just these two telekinetic wizards going at each other, I think, is a great visual for one. Like, Control has a really awesome physics model in itself anyway, wrenching concrete off the walls to throw it at dudes, which is what she can do to you as well. So the visual side of things makes it really, really epic and really cinematic. But in terms of the fight itself, I just didn't see it coming. Oh, I'll go through the mirror dimension. Something cool will be in there. Not expecting to fight, as I mentioned before, the Dark Link equivalent of Jessie with all her powers to that point.
Oh man, I wonder if this is just a warm-up for whatever happens in Control 2. Maybe we go for the remas, which... Remas? I'm possessed by the hiss.
What's Dylan backwards? Nalid? Nalid?
I'm not brainy enough
it's Nalid.
to know. Nalid.
Maybe Nalid's going to come at you in Control Resonant, the reverse Dylan. He's going to punch through.
Speaking of looking in the mirror, why don't you watch this video, also starring Scott and Josh, where we dissect the most overlooked games of the year so far.